Good morning. Welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill Unitarian Universalists on this day after Christmas. I'm Kathy Putnam, and I'm a member of the Worship Associates ministry here at the church. And I especially want to welcome any guests or newcomers who are here today and call your attention. There's a special note for you on the back of the order of service. Welcome guests and newcomers. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. As we continue with reopening, we have a few things to keep in mind. We're masking inside on Sunday mornings as a way of being an inclusive community. After the service, we invite you to gather for fellowship either out in the courtyard, unmasked, or behind the Jones building, which includes the porch, the grassy area, and the playground, and masking is mandatory, or in the Jones building where you can have fellowship, but people don't drink coffee in there. Our online coffee hour today is hosted by Rachel Rose and will begin at 11:30. Finally, we're not currently passing offering baskets, so when you make a donation, you can do it online or in the basket at the rear as you exit the sanctuary. One announcement, next Sunday we'll be de-greening the church. So these beautiful decorations will need to come down, and we invite everyone to stay for a while to help us do that. Okay, our opening hymn, please stand, as in body or spirit, is number 16, "'Tis a Gift to be Simple." We come this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude. Taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own lives. This house of laughter and silence memory, and hope is hallowed by our presence together. Come, let us worship together. You'll find the words for our chalice lighting in your order of service, and if you wish to do so, please join me in reading them. Into this home, we bring our hunger for awakening. We bring compassionate hearts and a will toward justice. Into this home, we bring the courage to work on after hard losses. Into this home, we bring our joy and gratitude for ordinary blessings. By our gathering, we bless this place. In its shelter, we know ourselves blessed.
While the choir is gathering, I just wanted to read the words to this piece by Howard Thurman, since we'll all be amassed. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among brothers, to make music in the heart.
When the kings and the princes are home, when the kings and the princes are home, when the kings and the princes are home, the work of Christmas begins. When the shepherds are back with their flocks, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, oh, the work of Christmas, the work of Christmas, the Christmas of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among brothers, to make music in the heart, to make make music in the heart, to make music. When the shepherds come to the flocks, when the kings and the princes are home, when the star in the heavens is gone, when the song of the earth is still.
Good morning. Each Sunday, we hold in our service a time for sharing the joys and the sorrows that we bring with us into this church community. It's during this time, if you've come this morning with either a significant personal joy or a sorrow, that you're invited to come forward to place a stone into the bowl, say your name, and in a few sentences, say your joy or your sorrow. Let us enter into this time of tenderness and trust.
I'm Deborah Klinger, and this is Glenn Meerbach. We have a sorrow that we had a trip planned. We were supposed to leave this afternoon to go to New Orleans to see our child Eden and their partner Amber, and we canceled it given the rise in Omicron, and we're very disappointed that we have to do that. You want to say anything else?
So we opened presents via FaceTime yesterday, but
It's not the
not
same.
quite the same. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Kathy Hodges, and I'm placing 2 stones. The first stone's for the Yigdal family. They lost their husband and father on Christmas Eve unexpectedly, and we're really sad for that. And then the second is for my niece, Carrie, and her brother, Bryant. They lost their mother on Christmas Eve. And so I just wanted to remember all the folks who are struggling with loss and with sadness in this time of joy and family.
Hi, we're George and Linda Thompson. On Tuesday, we'll celebrate our 52nd wedding anniversary. So. I'm Chris Immershine, and I put in a stone of concern for my grandfather who's facing a serious ongoing infection in his big toe that may need to be amputated, and just hoping that it does not become a systemic infection that becomes more serious. But my joy is my Uncle Bob, who had been estranged from my grandfather and the rest of the family for several years. I did make it to visit the day after Thanksgiving, and he is supposed to join them in Connecticut again today. So I'm grateful for that.
Good morning. My name is Dawn Carter. One of my dear friends, her oldest grandchild is 10. She was born without sight and without hearing and another disease that essentially renders her muscles almost useless. Anyway, every winter she ends up in the hospital with RSV or something like that. She had to be hospitalized the first part of November, and there were several days that we weren't thinking that she was going to come home. But she continues to remain strong, and she actually made it home 2 days before Christmas. So that's my joy.
Hi, good morning. I'm Dave Salmon,
I'm Nancy Mayer.
and I guess 2 days short of 9 years after George and Linda got married is when we got married in Brazil, and today is our 43rd Brazilian wedding anniversary.
My name is Jeannie Jansen. I put 2 stones in for sorrow. My neighbor, Clay Weibark, had a massive stroke last Monday and was taken off life support on Wednesday. His contagious wit and never met a stranger made him a friend to everyone. And then this morning, I learned that Desmond Tutu had died. I went around the world with Semester at Sea, and Desmond Tutu and his wife were there the entire time. I got to know him and his infectious laugh and his down-to-earth manner, and could see how he was able to do the Reconciliation Committee. And the third stone is all my family gathered for Christmas. My daughter and her 3 children, 6 months, 4 and 6, stayed overnight and then decided that it was so much fun they stayed again last night. Anyway, we had a wonderful Christmas.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Day, and I have a stone of concern that after Thanksgiving, my mother fell and broke several bones. And she needed to be in rehab because there was no way for her to be home. And she contracted COVID during rehab, and she is now in the hospital. And just strikes me as she's very frail and compromised pulmonary anyways. Just strikes me as incredibly lonely and scary. And so I'm concerned. My youngest sister lives there, and my mother's husband lives there. And my sister just contracted, she got a positive COVID test yesterday. Likely my mother's husband has been exposed, so it's likely that she'll be alone in the hospital for a really long time at this point.
Hi, my name is Katie Heineman, and I placed a stone for joy and a concern. It's the same thing, and that is I just want to recognize that I'm sad that Tom is taking a sabbatical. I'm really happy for Tom, but I'm sad for us, and I'm sure it will be really nice to have our Minister Allison in the meantime, but nonetheless, that's how I feel.
A couple members of our church wrote asking me to place stones. First, Bill and Joan and Bill Mead asked me to place a stone for a sorrow, which is that their longtime friend Anne Winfield died of cancer on December 12th. They remember Anne's kind and generous spirit, which brightened the lives of all who knew her. And then Martha Farley Sheard wrote, as well as other members of the church, asking me to place a stone in memory of Lynn Davis, who was a former member of our church who died of brain cancer earlier this month. Martha Sheard remembers that Lynn ran the Crop Walk church effort with her in 2006 and 2007. And we ask for prayers for Lynn's husband, Reed, and son, Tim. We hold them in our hearts this morning. And a final stone is placed for all those joys and sorrows which we hold in our hearts. Won't you join with me in the spirit of prayer and meditation? Spirit of life and love, amidst this season of both togetherness and separation, we hold all of those in our community who are grieving loss, the loss of a loved one, a family member, a friend, or a neighbor. We hold in our hearts all those in this community and in our lives who face illness, who struggle with recovery, or who suffer from disease. Amidst the comings and the goings of this season, we think of all in this community who so longed to be with family and friends. We also hold in our hearts the joy of connections when possible. As we enter this time, looking forward to a new season, looking forward to a new year, we ask that we reflect on the stirrings of our heart, the longings of our soul, our great passion and the world's great need. May we move into this time with courage, with gratitude, with hope, and with strength. And may we be courage and support and strength to each other in the living of our lives. Amidst all of the prayers of this community, amidst all of the prayers of the world, we hold together a time of silence. I invite you to be still with me for a few moments. Amen. Blessed be, and I invite you to join with me in song. One of my favorite songs in our hymnal is the Winter Lullaby, number 55, Dark of Winter. And I invite you to join in singing. We will remain seated as we sing.
And then my soul will sing a song, a blessed sound of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart desire cries, comfort and caress me. And then my soul will hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
It's good to see you this morning. There's a well-known aphorism that goes something like this: while the cat's away, the other inhabitants of the house continue on doing all the things they normally do because they are capable and responsible and self-actualized. Or at least that's how I remembered the aphorism going, but perhaps I misremembered. This Friday, 132 hours from now, not that I'm counting, when the clock strikes midnight and the ball drops in Times Square, I'm going to begin a 3-month sabbatical. 90 days later, I'll return on April Fool's Day. No fooling. This morning, I want to talk just a little bit about sabbaticals, what they are and why ministers take them. This morning, I want to tell you a little bit about what it is that I plan to do on my sabbatical so that you can sort of imagine what I might be doing while I'm away. And finally, this morning, I want to tell you about what it is I hope for you while I'm gone for the next 90 days. For Unitarian Universalist ministers, sabbaticals are a part of our tradition, a standard part of the letter of agreement or contract between a minister and a congregation. And taking a sabbatical is a good thing. That they are offered in the first place is a sign of the congregation's generosity, and that I'm taking one is a sign that our relationship as minister and congregation is strong and stable. Last time I checked, the average length of a settled ministry in our denomination had dropped to around 6 years, meaning the average ministry does not last even long enough for there to be a sabbatical. And you think about that change and disruption, it's actually something to celebrate, a ministry that's lasted long enough for me to actually take one. And part of the understanding of a sabbatical is that the ministry will continue after the sabbatical period, allowing both the congregation and the minister to experience its benefits and its rewards and its rejuvenation. Making it to a sabbatical is something to be celebrated. For ministers, the sabbatical period is set aside as a time of study, reflection, relaxation, and rest. And how I've always understood it is that it isn't intended as a time to do different work, but it's also not a time to do nothing. It's not exactly professional development in the strictest sense, nor is it vacation. For ministers, I think the best sabbaticals involve finding something interesting, compelling, challenging, and enjoyable to pursue, with the goal that I learn and grow and come back reinvigorated, or something like that. In my now nearly 19 years of ministry, I've taken one sabbatical previously, and in our congregation's 69 years of history, there's been, as far as I can tell, one ministerial sabbatical. And that was taken by Charlie Cast, our minister emeritus, in the year 2000. My first sabbatical I took in the 7th year of the previous church that I served. When I was planning for that sabbatical, a wise and experienced colleague took me aside and said, "Don't you dare write a book. Don't you dare go back to graduate school. Leave. Go as far away as you possibly can and have an adventure." So I bought a plane ticket to South America and spent 3 months traveling in Ecuador and Peru with the goal of not speaking English for the duration of that trip. It was wonderful. So what am I going to be doing on this sabbatical, you may ask? Well, let me explain by just set the groundwork by telling you just a little story. In the spring of 2001, I took a course in graduate school that changed my life. The title of the course was A Total Trip. Ready for this? The title of the course was The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, Mysticism, Eroticism, and Reflexivity in Comparative Religions. I mean, has there ever been a cooler course title than that? The course was taught by a brilliant young scholar of religion named Jeffrey Kripal, who wasn't even 40 yet. Kripal had written a first book that had shook the foundations of religious scholarship and had then been invited to spend a year as a visiting professor at Harvard. What was that class about? The class was about how wild and untamed energies and the knowledge that comes and the change that comes from experiencing them are part of all religious traditions. And the class was also about how people's experiences of these wild and untamed energies are both profoundly important and profoundly challenging and disruptive within organized religion. I fell in love with the subject of mysticism, and I was so deeply impressed by Professor Kripal, who was the most compassionate, curious, vulnerable, and courageous professor I had ever met. Over the next 20 years, I would continue to follow Professor Kripal's academic journey, read all of his books, and stay in touch with him as an intermittent pen pal, for which I'm grateful to him. I'd also continue to explore, in a dabbling sort of way, the thoughts and ideas he had raised. 20 years later, I still think of this class all the time. And I continue to wonder curiously about people's experiences of wild and untamed energies and what they might mean for the individuals to whom I minister and the religious traditions and communities I serve. All this past fall, I've been giving a sermon series on the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. Thus far, I preached the first 5 entries in that series, but I didn't preach on one of the 6 sources. The first source, which is transcending mystery and wonder. And that's because on my sabbatical, I'm going to engage that source. And when I talk about transcending mystery and wonder, I mean transcending mystery and wonder. During my sabbatical, I'm going to seek out individuals and communities of scholars who are interested in mystical experience. And I'm going to ask what all of those experiences might mean for religious communities, including this one. So here's what my sabbatical looks like in practical terms. I'm actually going to begin the first week of my sabbatical by reading 2 books of history. And this is fun. This is not homework. This is fun. One book is entitled The Other Side of Salvation by John Boucher and tells of the impact of spiritualism on Universalism and Unitarianism in the mid-1800s. from the blurb on the back of the book. How cool does this sound? During the 1850s, a surprising number of Americans believed that the deceased could be contacted through trance mediums and seances. Many of the radical leaders of the anti-slavery, women's rights, temperance, prison reform, and labor reform movements were involved in spiritualism and used it as a conduit for social and political change. Continuing to read from that blurb, among the liberal religious denominations, Universalism was the one most affected by spiritualism. Doesn't that sound interesting? And the other book of history is by Harvard professor Anne Braude, another professor I studied with. I'm going to read her book, Radical Spirits, Spiritualism and Women's Rights in 19th Century America, in which she argued that spiritualism provided the driving energy behind the women's suffrage movement and all of the women's rights movements of the 19th century. How cool is that? At least I think it is. Then after that week, after reading those two books, I'm going to do two things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go visit 3 renowned academic institutions where there have been robust inquiry into transcending mystery and wonder as it's experienced in our times. I'm going to visit the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, Duke University over in Durham, and Rice University in Houston. And the second thing I'm going to do is have visits with conversation partners who share a similar interest. I'm going to go visit my friend and colleague Carl Gregg in Frederick, Maryland, where he's the Unitarian minister who shares my interests. I'm going to spend a week with him. I'm going to go visit my friend and colleague Randy Becker in Key West, Florida, which is just a horrible place to have to go on a work trip. But don't worry, I will stay with the studies the entire time. I will absolutely not go snorkeling. And later in the sabbatical, I'm going to attend an academic conference at Rice University entitled Opening the Archives of the Impossible, which is about these experiences. And I hope and pray and cross my fingers and knock on wood that the conference actually meets in person. It was supposed to meet in person in the fall of 2020, which is when I had originally planned my sabbatical for, but then it was delayed and my sabbatical was delayed, and it's gonna happen in March. Cross my fingers, knock on wood. So that's going to be my sabbatical, reading about and learning from and visiting and traveling and talking with people who share my utter fascination with transcending mystery and wonder, and having some other adventures along the way, and reflecting on what it all might mean for religious communities. And while I'm away, there are a few things that I hope for you. First of all, keep on doing what you're doing. Since the beginning of the pandemic, I've been saying that these times call for patience, forgiveness, forbearance, gratitude, and trust. And that's the spirit we've all brought to these challenging times. You're an amazing church, and these qualities continue to be very important in our congregational life. The next thing I hope for you is to be mindful of connection. The sabbatical time is not a time for disconnecting from the life of the church. So stay connected. And if you're a person who has been less connected, now is a great time to get reconnected, whether that's with worship and coffee hour, with a ministry of the church, with a group, with an event. There are a lot of great worship services coming up this spring, led by Allison Eskildsen, our sabbatical minister, and also by Lisa Garcia-Sampson, Marion and Kat, our campus ministry, Eric Bannon. To be honest, one of the things I'm going to miss the most is the worship life of our church. Enjoy. And it is a great gift to hear voices other than mine from the pulpit. And so I hope that you find that newness and delight in it. And then the final thing I'm going to ask for you to do is to mark your calendars for Saturday, March 5th. Saturday, March 5th is going to be the return of our day of service. The lead organizer of it, Ray Dawson, has been doing an amazing job of building her team, building her roster, and they're going to field an all-star lineup of great service projects. Had to fit in a baseball metaphor in there. And so here is what I ask. If you're a member of a committee or ministry or group, make sure that your group sponsors a project and get it organized now so you can send it in time. And make it a point to come to the day of service. Many of the projects are going to be outdoors, and so we'll be safe. It's never rained on a day of service, so no worries there. And it will be an inspiring day, so commit to showing up and make it a blast. I'll be thinking of you from Houston. And most of all, have fun. Have fun. And see you all on April 1st. No fooling.
There we go. Okay. So this song by Linda Boynton is a song one might sing if we weren't humans or cats or mice, but we were all dogs. A song Tom might sing, I should say. So long and goodbye to my puppy dog friends. We've had some good times, but here's where it ends. I don't want to chase rabbits and I don't want to play. I just came here to tell you that I'm going away. We've been running in circles. Enough is enough. Staying around, it's just rough, rough, rough. So long, doggies, doggies, goodbye. I'm going away and I'm telling you why. I'm tired of barking up the wrong tree. I've got places to go and places to see, and that's why I'm saying so long, doggies, goodbye. Oh, why do you hound dogs just howl at the moon? I'm leaving today and I'm changing my tune. I'm looking for something, I don't know what. So starting today, I'm a traveling mutt. I've got to move on, for it's sad, but it's true. I'm 6 years old, but I feel 42. Oh, so long, doggies, doggies, goodbye. I'm going away and I'm telling you why. I'm tired of barking up the wrong tree. I got places to go and places to see, and that's why I'm saying so long, doggies, goodbye. You can't have respect for a dog that begs. A dog's got to stand on its own 4 legs. I'm not looking for someone to throw me a bone. I'm my own dog now. I can make it alone. Well, I'm leaving my collar. I'm leaving my tags. I'm bringing a dream and the tail that wags. My heart is warm and my nose is still cold. I want to get around before I grow too old. I'm taking my leave and I'm showing you how. When you make an exit, take a bow, wow, wow. Oh, so long, doggies, doggies, goodbye. I'm going away and I'm telling you why. I'm tired of barking up the wrong tree. I got places to go and places to see. I'm a lone dog rover and I have to run free. I'm my own dog rover. I belong to me. No more digging through cans. I've got bigger plans. No garbage. Bon voyage. So long, dog gone.
Thank you so much. Bon voyage. I want to invite up Reverend.
I beat you to it.
Reverend Allison Wilbur Eskildson, who will be our sabbatical minister over the next 3 months. Allison, your presence here as a congregant and as a colleague has been a blessing to me. I'm so grateful, so deeply grateful that the stars aligned in such a way for you to arrive here in Chapel Hill in the midst of this wild time, and that you said yes to the invitation to serve as our sabbatical minister. What I wish for you is that this time be a time of joy, and that ministering to this lovely congregation brings you as much joy as it has brought me. And so as I turn over the key to the church and take a break from the daily duties of ministry, which is really hard for me to do, I do so trusting that the ministry of this church is in very, very good hands.
Thank you for this key and all that it symbolizes. I will be worthy, I promise to be worthy of that trust by supporting your ministry even while you are away from us. And although I remember that aphorism a little differently than what you described, I remember hearing something about mice, and I think that means us. So while you're away, I'm going to let the mice play. We're going to play. Maybe not too wildly, but we will play. And while you're gone, I want you to not think about whatever you leave behind undone. It'll be here when you get back. It'll be here when you get back. But I do have a present for you to take away, so you need to open it up. And I will describe what the special powers of this.
All right.
Now, since you're going to be doing a road trip, these are essential items to have. Now, I want you to know of their special powers. They do not give you X-ray vision like Superman, but they may grant you spiritual insight. They do not provide you with night vision, though they may permit you to see what lies beyond the dark veil of mystery that lies all around us. And finally, they do not have polarized lenses, so all light will enter equally into your eyes without discrimination, including all that shimmers and sparkles in the world. As you wear these powerful glasses designed for mystics, remember, in the words of the spiritual teacher, Meister Eckhart, they will help you see what cannot be seen, and they will help you go where you cannot go. So go with our love and all of our blessings, wherever you are on that journey of your sabbatical. Know that we are here waiting for your return. So blessings on your sabbatical, and we'll play.
All right, our closing hymn this morning is number 1017. It's a little bit of a playful hymn, so Building a New Way. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. It's in the teal hymnal, and sing out.
We are building a new way.
words for extinguishing this flame, the words for extinguishing the chalice are in your order of service. Please read them along with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Just a reminder, as you're leaving the church, there's a basket for offerings. And if you do not want to hold hands, just go like this for shalom. So let's sing shalom. Shalom, my friends, shalom, my friends, shalom, shalom. We'll meet again, shalom, shalom.